Yes, yes, Robin. This is the moment. This is our moment to rise.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Jan, for that beautiful meditation and prayer. I put the words to the meditation in the chat. It was just, I love the whole rhythm of that, Jan. It was absolutely delicious. So, welcome everyone to Rockland Centers for Spiritual Living. Happy Easter to everyone who celebrates it. We are in our final Sunday of our March theme, transformation. And how perfect is it to end March theme, transformation, on Easter Sunday? Come on now. That is perfect. That is perfect. So, our annual theme is Ubuntu, we rise together. And I am so excited for this Sunday because we have a guest speaker. Rev Patric is back with us. Yes, he's back in the house. And I want to introduce you to him if you are not familiar. Let me start with this. Reverend Patric and I have known each other for a very long time. We started our journey together as practitioner students. So we went through practitioner training together under the tutelage of Reverend Jennifer Berkeley. And so Reverend Patric was a practitioner here at Rockland CSL, and he relocated to Seattle CSL, and he's doing phenomenal work there. So if you don't follow Patric on social media, you want to, because he always has the most interesting, funny things to post, and his cats are adorable, just adorable. So Rev Patric serves as a CSL staff minister and operations manager at CSL Seattle. Rev Patric has been a student of New Thought and Ancient Wisdom for more than 20 years. He received his ordination as an interfaith minister and counseling certificate interspiritual counselor at One Spirit Interfaith Seminary, and became a religious science practitioner with Jennifer Berkeley at CSL South Orange. Prior to becoming a minister, he toured North America and the world as a performer in a wide variety of films, television, and I always slip up on this word. The theater. He was in the theater, y'all. Okay. Throughout his performing career, he enjoyed parallel careers in production, design, and as a visual artist for a variety of event companies, designers, and artists. Rev Patric considers himself a perpetual student of and participant in all things, ideas, and philosophies that are creative and life affirming. And I would just end with, and he is an amazing baker. Many, many talents, many, many gifts. So please, let's welcome Rev Patric to Rockland CSL.
Well, that was a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will say also that our journey began even further back at Sacred Center of New York, just as congregants sorting our way through life and bumping into each other and sort of being each other's orbit for a decade before we even got to CSL with Reverend Jennifer. So we have a long and varied journey together, and it's a joy to see each other always. And I've always been grateful when Reverend Melissa's around and to be in her presence and to see her wonderful outfits, Easter Sunday or not. It's always been an artistic expression of beauty and joy. So I love that. Thank you for having me again. Thank you, everyone. Robin, that first song, 4 words, open wide my heart. It broke me this morning in the most beautiful way. I couldn't be more grateful to start this service with that song. And Jan, your meditation and opening prayer, thank you so much. So I'm going to continue the Irish blessing a little bit with John O'Donohue blessing that he wrote for Easter morning. On this Easter morning, let us look again at the lives we have been so generously given. And let us let fall away the useless baggage that we carry. Old pains, old habits, old ways of seeing and feeling. Let us have the courage to begin again. Life is very short, and we are no sooner here than it is time to depart again, and we should use the full time that we still have. We don't realize the good that we can do. A kind, encouraging word or helping hand can bring many a person through the dark valleys of their lives. We weren't put here to only make money or to acquire status or reputation. We were sent here to search for the light of Easter in our hearts. And when we find it, we are meant to give it away generously. The dawn that is rising this Easter morning is a gift to our hearts. And we are meant to celebrate it and carry it away from this holy ancient place, the gifts of healing and light and courage of a new beginning. So let that be our blessing this morning. So good morning, happy Sunday, yes, happy Easter, happy spring, happy Women's History Month. We're also in the midway time of Ramadan and also pre-Passover, so lots happening right now. Today is also International Trans Visibility Day, if you didn't know that. So there's lots to celebrate today. And so I say to you today, I celebrate all those things and none of it at all specifically. I celebrate it all, just the coming together and the recognition of all paths and any paths that bring us closer to God, bring us closer to an authentic expression of ourselves. I celebrate that and I'm here for it. And I look into this group, this online congregation, but some of you I know from being in person, and some of you I'm just meeting for the first time, and I say, God looks good on you. God looks good in and as and through all of you. And together we know that the truth of this sort of one power, this one presence, and this one good, and this one joy, this one love is working its way through each and every one of us. And I call that awesome. I call that fantastic. And whatever name you choose to call it, I call it God, but whatever you want to call it, that's okay. Whatever you want to call it is okay with God, because God doesn't care. God's okay with the name you give it. Just know that you are an expression of it, and it's a loving expression. So we call that into this moment and we say, yes, yes. And we say, thumbs up online. Yes, okay, good. So obviously it's Easter Sunday, and I'm going to say full disclosure, I don't always relate to Easter Sunday. I don't always relate to the mythology that's been shared to us through the decades. I grew up in a Christian household, but we didn't go to church much at all, not even on Easter or Christmas, very rarely. But we attended spiritual gatherings through music and through art in different ways. So this Easter story, I've wrestled with many years, and sometimes I sort of put it over there. Like, that's not mine, that I don't relate to that. So this Sunday, as I was preparing for this talk, I decided, what if, there's gonna be a lot of questions today, what if I decided that the Easter story is my story? What if I decided that the Easter glory is my glory? So I'm going to claim this year that Easter story is my story. The Easter glory is my story, and I'm going to claim it for you. Should you choose to accept this mission, you can claim it for yourself as well. Now, I question, how many stories of the resurrection and the crucifixion have we heard in our lifetimes? We know the myth, we know the legend, we know the romanticized idea of really what it was. And we know it wasn't really the romantic fairy tale story that they told us. We've heard the metaphors in the spiritual classes and in the Sundays that we've gone to spiritual centers and all that sort of thing. So my question is, what does that mean to me? How do I make that personal? If I'm removed from the culture or the religious ideology that it was based on, and if that's your story, that's awesome. I'm grateful for it. But it's just not mine. And how do I make the spiritual teaching personal and applicable in my daily life? That's what I always strive for. I recognize that I've certainly experienced the darkness of a cave. I've certainly experienced the joy that cometh in the morning, the resurrection of sorts. I've certainly experienced, what it feels like to, as John O'Donohue says, the dawn that come with Easter morning, the freedom that that brings. I've experienced that, to go from the darkness of an eternal experience to the revelation of the new dawn, to the revelation of a new idea, to the revelation of a resurrection and a possibility, a resurrection of spirit. I know what it's like to be filled with doubt, self-hate, self-loathing, all of those things. I know what it's like to be in that sort of tomb of I will say self-fullness. And then I know what it's like to be in the fullness of spirit and to be lifted in joy, and to be lifted in the transformative experience of love itself. I see that some of you are recognizing that in yourself. I get it from myself. I know that it's like to walk through this world alone, or walk through this world feeling alone, only to find myself in the company of my family, or a chosen family, or company of a congregation, or company of friends. I know what it feels like to think I have nothing to offer. I have no gifts of value to share with the world. And then I know what it's like to have someone reflect back to me that what I offered was exactly what they needed to hear, that transforms their life. That what I shared, or the time we spent together, was a transformative experience for them, or offered some light, offered a dawn of light. It offered a way to open wide my heart. It opened a way to open wide their heart. So perhaps we can relate to the story of renewal as an actual, instead of the actual resurrection story. We talk about the idea of resurrection. I even hesitate to say the word resurrection so much because it brings so many connotations of the crucifixion and all the other things. Because we know in our teaching that there is no resurrection. We are just always whole and perfect. We are just deciding whether or not to see the whole of perfection, wholeness or perfection at any given moment. We know that in our treatments, we're not healing anyone. We're just knowing the wholeness and perfection of them. So it's really a switch in our brain. It's really a switch in our perspective that allows us to have a spirit of an experience of renewal or not. And I was so grateful that the theme for this year for your center is Ubuntu. I learned about that during seminary. I knew a little bit about it at Sacred Center. And then when I went into seminary, I learned more about it. And it's such a beautiful philosophy or approach to life, an approach to community, an approach to our gatherings. And the literal translation I read up was humanity to others. That touched me so deeply. To be in community and offer our humanity to each other. In the common translation is, I am because you are. We've heard that. And I will say, I am because of who we all are, and who we all are together is because of who we all are as individuals. And if we are all individualizations of God, as our teaching states, then who we are collectively as a community, named as this community, named CSL Rockland County, is a profound expression of God. And each and every one of you are contributing to the expression of God as a community. You are because you are. You are as a community because of who you are as individuals. And I remind my community and this community here, and I remind you that don't forget that. You are not the community as a whole. You are a bunch of individualizations, expressions of God contributing to the whole. And all of it is a profound gift to the world. We forget that sometimes in our own being in the middle of it. Just like we forget ourselves, that being in the middle of ourselves, that we have something to offer and that the community is because of how we show up for it. Bell Hooks, an author, she writes this about community. Community is coming together of a group of individuals who have learned how to communicate honestly with each other, whose relationships go deeper than their masks of composure, and who have developed some significant commitment to rejoice together, to mourn together, and to delight in each other, and to make each other's conditions their own. If you don't know Bell Hooks, I would look her up. Her book, All About Love, is a transformative, powerful book. And I read this quote a couple of years ago when I was here, the St. Thomas Aquinas quote from 13th century. Because the divine could not imagine itself forth in any one being, it created a diversity of things so that what was lacking in one could be supplied by the others, and the whole universe together would participate in it and manifest the divine more than any one single thing. So just as Jesus said, greater things than this you shall do. I am one with God, my Father. That means that we are essential to the whole. We are essential to the community. Even in our darkest days, our showing up is the blessing. Our showing up is the gift. Now, what if that was the starting place for our day? What if that was the starting place from which we created our lives, from which we created our communities, our world? I am because we are. We are because I am, an inherent reciprocity of fullness, of love, expression. As Jan said, we are interdependent on each other. Our success, our expression of God is interdependent on our relationship to God, our accepting of God, and then interdependent with our expression of it in relationship to each other. I also am always reminded of the South African tribe, Babemba tribe. I don't know if you've heard this story. In this tribe in South Africa, when an individual acts irresponsibly or unjustly, that person, he or she, is placed into the town square, for lack of a better word, and the tribe, the men and the women and the children all gather around in a circle around this person. And they look at the person individually, and they start to tell the stories of that person's effect on their lives and all the good qualities of that person. They start to affirm the good deeds of that person throughout their lives, the positive attributes, the strengths, the kindnesses, and they recite carefully and at length what that person has offered to the community that's beyond this one action. And that ceremony can go on for days. Imagine that. Days of being told your positive attributes. Imagine being in a community where people reflect back to you the gifts you're offering. And at the end, the tribal circle is broken and a celebration occurs, and that person who acted unjustly, who did the dirty deed, is welcomed back into the community from the filter of hearing all the positive things they did, instead of the story of the negativity that they experienced in their mind that allowed them to act unjustly to the community. Now that to me is a resurrection story. Being able to step back into the community in the fullness of our being, in the fullness of knowing ourselves as love, in the fullness of knowing ourselves as a contributor. That's a story I can relate to. That's a story I can embody. That's a story that I can be as the one that acted unjustly, that needs the resurrection, but also as the one that's holding the consciousness and the high watch for the person. I can be the affirmer, and I can be the one resurrection. What if we experienced community more like that? What if we experienced being our family more like that? What if we spent less times in our lives gossiping and negative self-talk and bitching about ourselves and other people and the world around us, what if we started reminding each other of our greatness? What if we started reminding each other of our God qualities and telling each other of who we are, not who we should be or who we are not, but standing in the truth and the boldness that is God's wish for us, that is love's wish for us? What if we encouraged each other to rise in love instead of falling into love, to rise into the fullness of the divine human expression instead of staying into the tombs of self-doubt or the tombs of self-image or the tomb of self-consciousness? Or the cave of someone else's idea of who we should be or who they think we are? What if we actually saw ourselves at God as God sees us? What if we saw ourselves as love sees us, as joy sees us, as creativity sees us, as the most, as the person who loves us most sees us? What if we saw ourselves as that? Could you get down off the cross then? I remember a choir director, some of you may know him, from the South. He would tell us sometimes when we'd be getting too victimy in the choir or have some sort of complaint about the choir, he'd say, "Get down off the cross, honey. We need the wood for the fire." It cracked me up as a good image, and I often tell myself, "Patrick, get down off the cross. We need that. That wood could be used for something better." But seeing ourselves as the greater community would see us as the loving expression of God, how would that transform our experience of ourselves? How would that transform our relationships? Could we let the divine origin story, the DNA of our essence, be the rock of revelation that we build our lives on every day? I think it was in the second song you sang, Robin, do not compromise your life. I will not compromise my life. My sense of self and relationship with God is not up for negotiation. That is not something I negotiate with anyone. We can have discussions about other things, but I do not negotiate my divine origins in the sense of self that I have. I have in the past, but I no longer. And when you sang the song earlier, "Open Wide My Heart," that allows me to, it touched me so deeply. It allowed me in this moment, even in this second, to push back the rock and literally emerge again, anew, renewed. 4 words, couples changes in melody, and you just thought you were singing a chant. But that chant is a gift. And your voice added to that chant changed this community today. We are because of who you are. We are because you showed up. We are because you dared to sing. When I know, I'm sorry to focus on you for a second, but I know there are times in your life when someone said you shouldn't sing. I know there are times in your life when someone said, shush, hush up. I know there are times. It's happened to every one of us. That is the crucifixion that we've all experienced. And sometimes we do it to ourselves. We hang ourselves up on the cross. And when we've done that, even if someone else has done it for us, it is still up to us to get down off the cross. It is still up to us to push back the rock and step out into the fullness of who we are. It is still up to us to rise up and let yourself be heard. Rise up and open wide your heart and stand in front of the world and say, yes, this is who I am. Yes, this is what I have to offer. Yes to joy. Yes to love. Yes to God. That's when we can embody sort of transformative alchemy that's available to us. And when we can stand in front of each other and recognize each other and see ourselves in each other and said, I am because you are. That is a transformative equation. And if that's all you said between I am and you are and thank you, that's all you need to pray about. That's all you need to meditate on. I am because you are and thank you. And then because we can do that, we offer our humanity to each other. Our open wide heart of humanity, connecting heart to heart. And from that place, we can rise up. And from that place, we can more authentically claim the Easter story as our story. We can claim the Easter glory as our glory that way. Then I can relate to the story because it's personal and because it is profound and it is life-changing. It's not an allegory and a legend that belongs to a different religion than mine. It's not a story that's had one of the best marketing campaigns in the history. It's just a story of someone else's life. What is our story? And where in each of our lives can we rise up more fully into the fullness of who we are and then tell a different story? That is my wish for all of us today, that we leave today with our hearts a little bit more wide open, and that we take the philosophy of Ubuntu, which isn't necessarily of my culture, but it is of my culture as a human. It shows up in Buddhism, namaste, the divine in me recognizes the divine in you. I am because you are, and together we are more than ourselves as individuals. So I offer that as my blessing for you this weekend, this Easter morning. And I'm going to close with one more Irish blessing. This one was written by David White in honor of John O'Donoghue. It was written on one Easter morning. John O'Donoghue had passed, and one Easter morning, David White wrote this in 2015. And I offer it to you as a closing blessing. The blessing of the morning light to you. May it find you even in your invisible appearances. May you be seen to have risen from some other place you know or have known in the darkness, and that carries with it all you need. May you see what is hidden in you as a place of hospitality and shadowed shelter. May the hidden darkness be your gift to give. May you hold the shadow to the light and the silence of that shelter to the light of the world, and the silence of that shelter to the word of the light. May you join all previous disappearances with this new appearance, this new morning, this new being seen again, new and newly alive. And may you all know yourselves as love knows you. And may you all know yourselves as joy knows you. Thank you for letting me speak with you today and share some thoughts. Bless you. Together we say, and so it is.
Thank you.